Hello everyone. I welcome you all on this lecture series on transportation engineering. This is our lecture 7 on horizontal alignment. In last lectures, we are studying about geometrical design and various features in geometrical design. In previous lecture, we were studying about horizontal alignment and very important component in horizontal alignment, that is super elevation. Super elevation is the transverse curve which is provided in order to compensate the centrifugal force. At horizontal curves, there should be a provision of extra widening of roads in order to provide mechanical and psychological satisfaction. Mechanical satisfaction is required because of the length of your wheelbase or rigidity of the wheelbase. Because a rigid wheelbase will not allow you to move on the same path as you are moving on a straight road. Your front wheel will move on a different curve and your rear wheel will move on some another curve. That's why you need extra width if we consider this mechanical component of extra widening. Psychologically, we try to see or try to go to the outer edge in order to have a better visibility. Few more things about extra widening. Extra widening, how does extra widening is provided on the curves? We are talking about extra widening. Generally, extra widening extra widening is provided on both side, that is inner and outer of the equally. Second thing, we'll come on the explanation of these points. Let's write the points and then we'll make the diagram. Or you can see the diagram here. Why do we need extra widening? The reason is a straight curve is meeting with another straight curve by the provision of this horizontal curve. Or a straight road is meeting with another straight road with the provision of this horizontal curve. Now, the radius is r equals to infinity for the straight curve, and for this horizontal curve it is r equals to r, some radius. Whenever we are moving on this horizontal curve, the extra widening is provided on this curve uniformly. Let us say this is the length of curve, so uniformly on the both side it is provided, but we cannot provide it with abrupt change in the width of your pavement. If we call extra widening as WE, we try to provide equal extra widening on both sides, and in order to reach this width we provide this transition zone in which we uniformly increase this width to a constant value WE by 2. And then again, whenever this curve ends, we need to get back to the initial width of the road. So we again have a transition zone which will allow us to get back to this lane width or road width. So this is how we provide extra widening. Extra widening cannot be provided abruptly, because if we increase the width abruptly, it is of no use. We should introduce it uniformly. Another point is, whenever there is a hill curve or hill road, when there is a horizontal curve on hill road, extra widening is provided on the inner side of the curve. Means on the inner side we provide this complete extra widening or complete extra width. For a radius more than, for a curve or horizontal curve of radius more than 300 meter, it is kind of flatter curve. If radius is more, extra widening is not required, because the extra widening is required for a horizontal curve with less radius in order to accommodate the vehicle on this curve. So if it is more than 300 meter, no extra widening is required. For curves or horizontal curves of radius very less, say radius is less than 50 meter, extra widening is provided on the inner side of curve. So this is how these some provisions of extra widening is provided, or extra widening is provided on the ground. The importance of extra widening is used while designing your transition curve also. What is a transition curve? Let's look into this. Let us first talk about a straight curve and a circular curve, or a horizontal curve, or a straight road and a horizontal road. What are the various changes we see on a straight road as compared to, or on a circular curve or a horizontal curve as compared to a straight curve? Let us write this straight road and here road with horizontal curve. What are the differences? We have already seen all the differences. Now let us talk about them in a comparative way. The first difference we want to make is with road width. In straight road, road width is W. Whatever the lane width or total lane widths, or the summation of total number of lanes, this will be the lane width on your straight road. But on your horizontal road, there will be your lane width plus some extra widening. Secondly, a very important, radius. What is the radius of straight road? Straight road, as it is straight, radius is infinite. So radius on straight road is infinite. But on horizontal curves, radius have some value. That is, r is equals to some value r. We don't know what the value is, but there is some specific finite value r. Third, we have, if there is radius, we should be providing a cross slope in addition to camber. So, kind of cross slope. What kind of cross slope is available in the straight road? The cross slope which is provided in the straight road is known as camber because it is provided in order to have a drainage condition or a proper drainage. So on straight roads we have camber, but on horizontal curves we have super elevation. On straight roads, because there is no radius, what about centrifugal force? Do we have any centrifugal force? No. Centrifugal force, there is no centrifugal force. Why? Because centrifugal force is having a component of r in the denominator. If we see this r, for a straight road it is infinite. If r is infinite, then this complete value ought to be 0. But for this horizontal curve, we have some super elevation. We have this radius r and we have this centrifugal force. A very basic thing. Driver's steering capability or driver's comfort. So on straight road, driver has no problem while steering because he is moving on straight lanes. Steering is not a very big issue. But while on horizontal curve, there is a kind of complexity in steering your vehicle. You are moving on a curve, you have to make that transition from a straight steering to a curved steering. So driver is more comfortable, and here driver comparatively less comfortable because of the steering complexity. So what we want here, we want to change the conditions which are written against the straight roads to the conditions written against the horizontal curves. If we want to change from 1 to second, we cannot provide the second conditions abruptly. We cannot provide additional width abruptly. We cannot provide the radius abruptly. We cannot provide the super elevation abruptly or just with the instant, because it will cause danger of accident and it will cause discomfort for the passengers. Because with this transition, very quick transition, there will be a jerk, and this jerk will cause discomfort for the passengers. So to avoid all this discomfort, what should we do? We should have a kind of transition zone. Transition means change from this condition to another condition. Whenever we are having a transition zone, we transit from the condition of a straight road to the conditions of a horizontal curve. Let's talk about why do we need a transition curve. Transition curve is a curve provided for the transition of the features on your straight road to the features on your horizontal curve. So you know what is transition curve. Let's write in definition what is transition curve. Transition curve. It is a transit zone zone provided between a straight road. Let's define a straight road as r equals to infinity, and a horizontal curve where r is equals to r. In order to, for a reason of, provide changes from straight road features to horizontal curve features. We just saw what are the features to us. So why do we provide need of this transition curve? Let us see need of transition curve. First, to introduce or to change radius from infinity to a value r. So we have to change the radius from infinity to r smoothly. Second, to introduce centrifugal force uniformly to provide super elevation uniformly to provide extra widening uniformly to allow driver to steer with confidence and safety, to provide comfort for the passenger by avoiding jerks, and finally to provide a better aesthetic. What is aesthetic? Aesthetic means how we see things, the beautification. Because if there is abrupt change, it will look absurd. So better to have a beautiful transition from a straight to a horizontal road. So these are the reasons why do we provide these transition curves. So you can note down these reasons, or you can remember these reasons by remembering what transition we are going to see. For transition curves, there are several geometrical curves which can be used. There can be several geometrical curves that can be used. There can be a spiral, or this is also known as clothoid, or there can be a lemniscate, there can be a cubic or parabola, all these curves has similar properties. For a deviation angle of around or less than 4 degrees. These curves have similar properties. There is no problem in providing the curves for deviation angle 4 degrees. But as we see in rods, the angle is more than 4 degrees. So for more than 4 degrees, this spiral curves are used. As per IRC recommendation, spiral curves are used for horizontal curves on highways. Reason for this is a spiral curve is a uniform curve. For a spiral curve, length of curve and radius of curve is constant, or the multiplication is constant. Let us know what is a spiral. Spirals are actually of two types. One is Archimedean spiral, another one is logarithmic spiral. If we talk about geometry, how do these things work? If this is a rod, this rod has a point here, this is P. Now this P is moving on this road in this way along with the rotation of rod. This rotation of rod and this movement of P are arithmetic in nature. If we say with a vectorial angle of 30 degree, means rod is now here at location 1. The point will move x distance. This is x distance for the first rotation or first vectorial angle. The distance of this point P from the center is known as radial vector. So if we draw another, or if we give another rotation or another displacement of same vectorial angle, the point you will see has moved further to a distance of 2x from the center. With another change in vectorial angle, another 30 degree, another change in position of P, 3x. So while doing this, if we complete the rotation and we connect all these points, so finally what we get, the curve is known as spiral, and this is Archimedean spiral. So this spiral you saw has a uniformity of vectorial angle with variation in your radial vector. That's why this curve seems to be useful for design of I'm sorry, this is looking in background of me. If anything is cutting out, please pardon. So here, this is spiral. This is having a change, a uniform change, and it is useful for our highways in order to have ease of laying out or layout. Whenever we are implementing the design on road or on ground, we have to implement or lay out the design on road. So it is very easy to set up the curve on ground. That's why we use this spiral. And also for calculations are also easy. If the deviation angle is less than 4 degree, we can use any type of curve without any problem. So this is very important for objective questions. What type of curve is used for your horizontal curves on highway? It is a spiral or clothoid curve. Now let's find out the length of transition curve. What length of transition zone is required in order to give this change from a straight to a horizontal point or horizontal curve. So let us calculate the lengths of transition curve. There are few conditions which we have to follow while designing a transition curve, or there are few things which we have to accommodate in our design. First, which we need to design is on the basis of rate of change of centrifugal acceleration. Let us discuss here what is centrifugal acceleration. This you saw earlier, and we know this as centrifugal ratio. What is the unit of P by W? P is force kilonewton, weight is weight kilonewton. There is no unit. So what is the unit of this quantity V square by GR? There is no unit. What is the unit of G? G is acceleration. It ought to have a unit of acceleration. If denominator we consider as G as acceleration, so we can write the unit of V square by R as unit of acceleration, and as it includes R and V, so this is nothing but centrifugal acceleration, or this is centrifugal acceleration. Let me do this centrifugal acceleration with unit of meter per second square, you can say. What we want to provide the centrifugal acceleration uniformly, and the rate is what tells us how uniform we should provide it. So call C as rate of change of centrifugal acceleration. Rate is how much is centrifugal acceleration has changed with time. This is known as rate. For any rate term, we find it with comparison to time. This is V square by R final centrifugal acceleration which we need on the curve minus V square by R initial what we need on the curve divided by total time taken for this transition. Now till now we have not studied any quantity relating or talking about time. That's why we can change the time to what is time? The time taken from the transition of initial acceleration to the final acceleration. So initial acceleration was at the initial point of transition curve, because we are transiting from initial to final means initial acceleration, centrifugal acceleration to final centrifugal acceleration. Initial centrifugal acceleration is with radius r equals to infinity because it is a straight curve. If r is equals to infinity, then v square by r is definitely 0. So initially v square by r initial is equals to 0 as r is equals to infinite. And final is the point when the horizontal curve starts. So what time is we are talking about? We are talking about that time during which we travel the distance of the transition zone. So this is distance of transition zone, distance divided by the speed with which we are moving. The speed is actually the design speed of the road. So we can write it as length of transition curve divided by the velocity. You know this V is design speed in meter per second. I need not to remind you again and again that small v is in meter per second and capital V is in kilometer per hour. So let's get back. The C is equals to v square by r, need not to write final because r will be at the final point, divided by ls by v. So let's do the calculation. We want this length of curve ls, and this comes out to be v cube by cr. This is the formula which we will use to calculate the length of curve. This quantity c, rate of change of centrifugal acceleration, can be written as an empirical formula right here, kmph, if you are confused with capital V or small v. But if you write capital V, there is no need to write kmph. So C can be calculated using this formula. C is equals to 80 divided by 75 plus kmph. And C generally has a minimum value of 0.5 minimum, and C has a maximum value of 0.8 maximum. So if sometime there is the case when you don't remember these formulas, you can directly put on a value of 0.6. This is an intermediate kind of value. So this is the first way we can calculate the length of a transition curve. Now in a second condition, the second condition depends on the rate of change of super elevation. The rate of change of super elevation. We know super elevation is provided in two ways. One is center line method, and another one is inner edge. Another one is inner edge method. By centerline method, super elevation or the height. What is super elevation? If this is the road, this is E, we will raise the height of this road. Let us call the width as W. We'll raise this height as EW. Fine. On the horizontal curves, this W has an additional width. So we can again add here some additional width. By centerline method, we saw we consider center as pivot and we raise the outer edge. While raising the outer edge, we can see the inner edge, it also gets down or depresses. Gets a dip. Because of that dip, we are getting half of the inclination here, half of the depression here. We are getting complete slope with half change only. So the height with which we will rise this curve will be EW plus WE by 2. But with the inner edge, when we raise this curve, the height of the rise is WE. Here N or 1 by N is rate of introduction of super elevation or change of super elevation. And this N has a value between 150 to 60. So for center line method, length of curve for center line change, the length of curve will be equals to E N W plus WE by 2. For inner edge, length of curve or length of transition curve is equals to E N W plus WE. So this is how, why half length is required, because just by changing it half uniformly, where the change is made to a half slope or to a half raise. If the rise is here, then depression is here, because from center line method we consider center as pivot. So this is the second equation which we should remember, the second condition which is used to provide a transition curve. This is the second method. Let's talk about third method or third IRC formula for length of transition curve. IRC has given this formula in small v, but we can write this formula straight away because the velocity given to us is in kilometer per hour. So for plain and rolling terrain, length of curve is equals to 2.7 v square by r. And for mountainous terrain, mountain or steep, length of curves, oh, this is capital V, I'm sorry, this is capital V. If we want to write this equation in small v term, this is 35 v square by r kmph. You can write it as kmph. And for mountainous terrain, it is v square by r itself. If we talk about in terms of small v, this is 12.56 96 v square by r. So you can remember both of these formulas. Generally, the equation which is asked is on this plane or rolling terrain. So we have three formulas to calculate the length of transition curve. What should we consider? We should include all these conditions. So if we consider the maximum length out of these three equations, we will be able to include all these three conditions. If the length of transition curve from first is coming out to be 24 meter, from second it is coming out to be 48 meter, and from third it is coming out to be 42 meter. So we should consider this 48 to be the length of curve, because from condition 1 the minimum length of curve required to be 24. From condition 3 the minimum length of curve required to be 42 meter, and if we consider the 48 meter as length of transition curve, then for this condition the first condition and the second condition is satisfied. That's why, this is for your understanding, don't consider this in your notes. Okay, that's why we have these three formulas and we use these formulas for design of transition curve. One more specification is given, that is known as shift of curve. This is shift of curve. When there is a straight road and this is the deviation of this road, a curve is need to be provided. So we can provide a curve here, a curve with radius r. But to reach this curve, we need to have a transition zone. Because of provision of transition zone, we start the transition zone beforehand, and then we provide a circular curve, and then again a transition zone. Because of provision of transition zone, our curve shifts inward, and this is known as shift of curve. So this shift of curve can be written as length of transition curve by 24r. So this should be remembered while solving questions. This is a very important parameter, how much your curve shifts. And remember, this shift is inward from the or towards the concavity of the curve, not on the outer side. So these are the features which are provided using transition curve. We'll do some questions regarding this in next lecture. One more important parameter, that is loss of tractive effort. Let us understand what is traction or tractive effort. It is the effort made by the vehicle in order to move. If this is my vehicle, let us say this is the rear wheel or rear axle, this is the front axle. Generally power is provided to the rear axle, and when we accelerate or we press the accelerator or race, then this process generates some effort in order to move. So tractive effort is known as the power generated or the effort generated by the vehicle in order to move. Let us say, as the rear axle are straight, they will produce a tractive effort in this direction T. Let us call it tractive effort T. But because on the curves our front wheels has some change in their alignment or their direction in order to cover that curve, the direction of tractive effort comes. The produced tractive effort is this, used tractive effort is this in a direction of theta. So this used tractive effort for the motion is T cos theta. So what is the loss in tractive effort? Loss in tractive effort is equals to T minus T used, that is T cos theta, and we can write it as T1 minus cos theta. So this is also a very important parameter which should be remembered. Coming on to the next topic is setback distance. Setback distance, setback means remain at some limits, keeping it to some limit. To what? किसको लिमिट में रखना है? Let us consider this, or okay, I have already made this, no problem. This is a circular curve. This is a single lane road, a circular curve. For a single lane road, this is the center line of the road. So whenever I am moving on this road, let us say this is my vehicle, I need some distance to be visible in order to take actions like stopping, overtaking, or other. What is stopping distance or stopping side distance? For straight road, stopping side distance is actually the visibility. The visibility should be this much. But it is calculated on the basis of how much distance you will take to stop. For a curve length, your visibility will not be through the curve. Your visibility will be on this direction, a straight line. But your stopping action or any other overtaking or any other action will be taken on this curve only. So let us call this distance as sight distance, because this is the distance which we require actually on the road in order to stop or overtake or anything else. So this is the sight distance which we require on the road. But to reach that sight distance, I need to have a control over this area. I don't want anything to be built here. If there is any obstacle in between my sight, there will not be a useful sight distance available there. That's why I need some distance to be cleared up, or there should be some clearance on the sides of the curve. So this clearance from the center line of the road is known as your setback distance. If we see setback distance, it is the clearance provided on the horizontal curves in order to have a safe sight distance. There are two conditions. First, when the sight distance available is less than your length of curve. When the sight distance available is less than your length of curve, there is no problem, because the curve is more, the distance required is less. So we can make arrangements. Let us make from center line to here and center line to here. This is radius of your curve r, radius of it. This is the angle. If we see complete angle, this is complete angle alpha, or we can write the half angle as alpha by 2. So here the alpha angle can be written as, what is alpha? Arc upon radius. What is arc length? For this angle alpha, arc length is your side distance s, and the radius is r. These values are represented in terms of radian, so we can convert this radian into degree, and we want to talk about this half alpha. So half alpha will be, alpha by 2 will be 180 s by 2 pi r. So this is half alpha. We will use this value of alpha. For this curve, we want to calculate the setback distance m. So what the setback distance will be, if I show you, this is the radius, and from center to the center, this is also the radius. The difference between, so this length will be how much? This length will be r cos alpha by 2. So if we subtract r minus r cos alpha by 2, I will be left with, for single lane, for single lane, m will be equals to r minus r cos alpha by 2. We'll come back here. Let's first see the diagram for multiple lanes. For multiple lanes, or we'll write multiple lanes here only. We have, let's call it 2-lane highway. This is the center line of your innermost curve. Center line of innermost curve. Your radius will be from these points. So let us write radius. This is the radius r. This is the radius r. The distance between the center line of inner curve or innermost lane and the innermost edge, distance between center line of innermost lane to innermost edge is d. We are representing it with d. So this distance is d. This is actually, if we say this is a 4-lane or 2-lane highway, so we are considering the half of lane width. So d is half of lane width. It is half of lane width. This is also 1 d. This is also, if I consider this center, this is also d, and this is also d. So d is half of this length. I am moving on this curve here to here. This distance should be visible. What I'm planning if I'm moving on the innermost lane, the distance should be visible to me clearly. So setback distance to be provided with respect to considering the innermost edge, and the center line of innermost edge can be represented here. So this is the radius. Our setback distance will be from here. This is our setback distance. This setback distance will be from center line only. This is the setback distance. This is your M. To calculate this length from here to here, what length we need from here? The radius is still the center line, but we have to remove this D so that we can reach the center line of the inner edge. So for this condition, length of or setback distance M can be calculated as what we want this M. So we have to minus this R radius, and we'll minus R this distance, and this distance will be calculated from this triangle. So R minus, what is this length? This is R minus D cos alpha by 2. R minus D cos alpha by 2. So this will be our setback distance for multiple lanes. This is for multiple lanes. How we calculate D? D can be calculated as W plus WE, whatever width we have. Like if we have 4-lane highways, we want to have 1/4 of the portion of this 4-lane highway, so we can divide it by 4. Sorry, 2-lane. 1/4 portion of this 2-lane. Half portion of single lane, 1/4 portion of 2-lane. So this is for double lane highways. If we have 3-lane, we can do it by 6. So this is how you can do it. This is alpha. Alpha will change. What was alpha by 2 there? Alpha by 2 was 180 into S divided by 2 pi R. But here R is R minus D. So alpha will also change into condition. So finally, one more condition. This condition was for a side distance which is less than your length of curve. But somehow, if your length of curve is more than your side, less than your side distance, then what will be the condition? Condition 2 for setback distance: when your length of the curve is less than your side distance. What does this mean? This is your straight portion kind of thing. This is your curve. This is again your inner side of the curve, and then again kind of straight portion. So your curve length is this much, but you require side distance between these 2 points. Your radius will be from here to here, but side distance is required from this point to this point. So you have 2 distances here. One is this M1 and another is this m2. So you have to calculate m1 and m2. This length, complete length, is your sight distance. Here, this is your length of curve. So what is this distance? This is sight distance minus length of curve by 2, because we are providing it on both the sides. Length of sight distance is more length of curve by 2. So first m1 will be calculated similar to the first provision, r minus r minus d. I am writing for multi-lane. If it is single lane, you can remove d, cos alpha by 2. And m2 will be s. If you see this triangle, this is a straight line, this straight line, this line, this is perpendicular. So we need this distance, a perpendicular distance, minus L by 2 sine alpha by 2. So setback distance m will be equals to m1 plus m2, and this m is equals to r minus d cos alpha by 2 plus s minus length of curve by 2 sine alpha by 2. So this will be the final equation for setback distance. This is how you can calculate the setback distance if your curve length is less than your sight distance. So whatever we have studied today, it is a very important part of your geometric design. Very important part. Especially the complete horizontal alignment is a portion which attracts a lot of questions in GATE examination. For question practice, we'll meet in the next lecture and see questions on based on all these methods and these provisions which we consider in geometrical design. So till then, thank you so much.